Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for being here. I so love it when I see the people coming in and dropping in as soon as we start these episodes. Thank you so much for being here live and watching us. If you are watching us live, if you could share the stream wherever you're watching us at so we can get more eyes on the content, we would so appreciate it. And if you're watching on the replay a little bit later, make sure you hashtag replay so that we can see where you're watching us at and we can send you some after the show love. But thank you so much for being here for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version podcast is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Barbara Alexander. Barbara is an intuitive and spiritual coach, mentor, and astrologer. She works with women to help them courageously embody the fullest, most authentic expression of themselves. In doing so, they become aligned to their true purpose in order to achieve holistic success on their own terms. Yes, she helps her clients see how astrology can help them tune into their purpose, tap into the gifts they were born with, and become in alignment with who they truly are at our core. Barbara helps them better understand why they go through challenges during certain phases in their lives and to better navigate their way through them as part of their personal growth journey. Welcome, Barbara. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, Sabrina. And thank you for inviting me to share my story and to get to know you more and your viewers. I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you for being here. So appreciate women who understand the importance of jumping on podcasts, sharing stories, giving value. So I so appreciate all of the ladies who take some time out of their day to sit down and share some nuggets of information from their own journey and their own story in order to help other people who are in a dark spot right now. You know, there's people that are in dark spots right now and they're floundering around and they don't know which way is up and which way is down. And sometimes just hearing the right story from the right person with the right tone of voice, the right time can make a world of difference. So I so appreciate you. And I'm super excited to kind of dive into all of the goodness that we just talked about in the intro there. But the first question that I want to ask you before we dive in to all of the goodness that you're doing right now in your life is a few steps in the past, wherever you want to take us. But I want to ask, when you think back to your journey or your story from the beginning to where you are now, what would you say, or what would be a story that you could share with us that was a pivot or a turning point in your life? And what did you learn from that story?
Okay, so the big pivot happened really in the wake of tragedy. In 2011, we lost my nephew, James. He was the passenger of a fatal car accident. He was in the back. Two of his friends were in the front, and another vehicle collided with them, and he died instantaneously. And so when you're not expecting something like that, especially when it happens to a young person who was a real big part of your life, it really changes your life. And so I didn't realize at that very moment how significant that event would change my life. It's my only sister's son, and I ended up having to take the reins with everything as far as his funeral and a lot of the sort of the residual things that we had to deal with as a family to stay together. So the lesson, if there's a lesson here, is life is obviously very precious, and it could change on a dime. And that really, within a year, had me look at my life and my children. I remember looking at them sleeping one night. I have twins. They're almost 20 now. And I just asked myself, okay, is this where I want to be? Because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Is your sister older or younger than you?
She's younger. She's 2 years younger. And if I don't mind sharing this story a little bit further, within 2 months, we started a foundation in his name. My sister called me over and said, I need your help. And I said, okay, what do you need? She said, we want to have a big fundraiser. James loved wiffle ball, and we're going to do a wiffle ball tournament, and we need your expertise, because I was the business one in the group, and I knew how to pull off certain things. I said, oh, when do you want to do it? She said, August. Now this was July, right? And I said, oh, August. I said, August 2012. We have a lot of time. And she's like, no, next month. I said, next month. So fast forward, we had 500 people there. We raised $25,000. And today it's a 501c3, and we do events all year long. So that was the beginning of really doing something positive for the community in the wake of such a tragedy. I was the CEO, and I ran the foundation for about a year, and then I became a board member and a committee member. So I'd like to say I contributed pretty significantly to getting that off the ground.
Wow. What does the foundation do?
We support kids in the local community. So James was a baseball player, and he was an average student. So we look at the qualifications of every year. We do scholarships. That's like sort of our main thing. But we also have a way to give back to kids in other ways. So if they're either financially disadvantaged or their families are struggling, it's really all about helping them, whether it's education, whether it's sports. We've also helped families who are dealing with tragedies like we did. If there's a loss of a child or a loss of someone significant in the family that would impact their financial stream, we give back to them as well.
Wow, so awesome. So that's been going on for how many years now? 2011.
So it's 10, 11, 11 years. Yeah, it's since he passed away, we started. So yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. So awesome. When you think about the path that you've been on in your life, enduring that, getting over that, the steps that you took, could you share? This is a real thing. This is stuff that's happening right now.
Yes.
What did you do in your journey, your specific story, to start to go from a dark spot to a light spot?
So starting the foundation and really pouring our energy into that was like sort of step number one. In the immediate wake of grief and tragedy, and dealing with the reality that this 17-year-old was not with us anymore, we really poured. And I say we because it was not just me, it was my sister and close friends. So that helped us with some purpose. So in the wake of a tragedy, we have a purpose, and in that purpose, we can help other people. So that uplifted us. Were there really tough times of grief? Absolutely. The first holidays, the first birthday. I mean, still we think about him, but we look at the good that we were able to bring back to the world. I say the world, but the local community, but everybody, even people that didn't know James, knows James because of the work that we've done. And then me personally, within that year, I was running the foundation. I had a very intense corporate job. I had a part-time network marketing business. My husband at the time traveled. I was raising twins. I was really over capacity. And that's when I really said to myself, okay, like, what are you doing here? Like, what do you really want to do? And before James's passing, I will say, and I don't say this with an ego. I say this with, like, I lived a charmed life. I did. I had a wonderful childhood. Right out of college, I got a great job with IBM. I was always making a lot of money, but I stood back and said, am I really happy? Like, is this really what I want to do? And I realized that it wasn't, but I didn't know what it was that would really make me happy and make me fulfilled. And, but I did realize that doing what I was doing then wasn't going to serve me anymore or serve my family. So I started to peel back the layers of, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I need to release? And that was in 2012. So I started to release things in my life, things I was doing that just didn't make any sense anymore.
Wow. Definitely makes sense. What do you mean by doesn't make sense anymore? What does that mean?
It didn't feel right to me anymore. It didn't feel like it was a good representation of who I was at the time. And the first thing to go was my corporate job.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah.
Was that was that a congratulations, like yes, or was that scary? Was that fearful? What was that like?
All of the above. So yeah. So I mean, I'll be candid here because I know this is a candid channel. I was making more than my husband, so it was a significant decision that would impact our livelihood, and it was scary. I did at the time have a network marketing business, so I felt like, okay, I can put my effort into that because I was working with women, and you know how network marketing works, right? Yeah. So I said, I'll just pour my heart and soul into that and let go of what I didn't realize was an identity I really needed to shed. I didn't know that at the time, though, Sabrina. I didn't know it was like the beginning of shedding my identity.
Wow. Can I ask what network marketing company you were with?
Arbonne.
I love it. I'm a customer of Arbonne. I've never sold anything.
I still use the products. Yeah.
Their products are pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, their products are pretty good. That is so cool. Wow. So base first into Arbonne as an MLM. And then what happened? What was the shift?
The shift was I hired a coach. And I hired a coach to help me grow my business. And she was a coach that specialized in network marketing. And so this was like, I guess, a year into leaving my corporate job. The first thing I did, I'll be honest with you, the first thing I did is I wanted to be a mom. I kind of just took it easy with the business, and my kids were in 5th grade, and I was in the PTA, and I was running the gift auction. I was doing all those things that I never could do. So I kind of did that for about a year. And then I said, okay, let's get serious because we got to start making some money and start contributing to the household. And I hired a coach, and she was a specialist in network marketing. She ran a network marketing business too. And it was over that 1 to 2 year period that I became fascinated with coaching. And so I decided to go for my coaching certification. So I actually got a certification from International Coach Federation with a company called IPAC. It's one of the big coaching schools. And I really thought I was going to use the skills that I learned in coaching to help me in my business. But then I realized that I can actually build a separate business of coaching. And I said, "Oh, this is cool." And I joined it. I joined a networking event, and I was still in coaching school. And the members of the networking event, the networking group, were like kind of fascinated with what I did. And I got my first 3 clients just showing up at this meeting. So it was like, all right, I think I could do this.
I love that. Wow, how exciting. What was your first niche? What did you fall into?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I've niched about 4 times since. At the time, I took the advice of my coach, my mentor coach, which she said, just coach everybody. Just coach everybody on whatever they need to be coached on, because then you'll realize what you have a passion towards. So I was coaching men. I had an accountant. He was a partner in an accounting firm. I coached him for a year. I coached a plumber. I coached a realtor. I coached all these different people. I coached network marketing people. And then I started to think about my roots again. Okay. And this is where I sort of warn people. Like, don't go back to your comfort zone, because I started going back into coaching where in the corporate world, right? So I left corporate for 25 years. I look back now, I left corporate for a reason, but I thought, okay, I've been in corporate. I know corporate. Let's do coaching in corporate. So I got another certification in leadership and corporate coaching. And I thought that was going to be my path. And I spent a couple of years. I did well, but it wasn't something that lit me up. And that's when I knew, okay, this is not what I want to do. But I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, totally. I love that you're talking so candidly about this, because I think that not only in entrepreneurship, in coaching, but just in life, sometimes we feel like when we're stepping into a decision, that decision has to be for life. And I think it's so important to recognize that you can step into, for instance, your story, coaching, a certain niche, and then you can decide to pivot in that niche or to a totally different one as you're going along. There is no nailing down of, a definitive yes or no in our life with really anything.
You're absolutely right. And so I learned to, over time, I learned to follow my intuition. Like, when I felt something wasn't right, I would say, okay, time to change. And sometimes I didn't know what that change would be. But if I can bring up astrology for a minute, I started to dive deep into astrology. I had a reading. My very first reading was in 2020. Okay, let's just picture this. It's 2020, right? Everybody's lives turned upside down in 2020. We were confined to our homes. My husband at the time was a traveler, and now he was home. So I was in an environment now where I wasn't used to having him home, my kids home. I worked from home. And I don't remember how I was introduced to somebody. My cat is coming up here. I was introduced to somebody, and I had my first reading. And it was like, wow. Like, I just started to learn more about myself that I kind of knew, but I didn't really believe. Okay. Like the spiritual side of myself. Like, I started during that time frame, I started getting into like tarot and a lot of the spiritual readings, and I just dove into a lot of that stuff. And I realized that it's in my birth chart. There is some level of spirituality and teaching and coaching that is part of my blueprint. So I started to embrace it was at that point I started to embrace who I really was and started to say, okay, well, yes, I'm letting go of this corporate thing because it served me for a while, but this is really the path that I'm supposed to be down. So it gave me that validation and that encouragement when I was really just I was just getting intuitive hits.
Wow. Look at that. What a pivot. That's big. That's a big one.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, there are people that know me from 10 years ago and they're like, you're like a totally different person.
Wow. Isn't that so cool? That's the magic. That's the magic of choice.
Exactly. And you know, I say, like, we don't have to be, I know, like, there are times that we're in dark places that we know we have to make a change, right? Or we have to emerge from that darkness into the lightness. And we know the light's there. Like, we just have to find our way. But to the outside world, like I said, I lived a charmed life. Like, was there anything wrong? Like, it was a beautiful life, right? Yeah. I didn't have to change anything, right? We were doing well. We had a nice home. We had everything that we can ask for, but there was something inside that was saying to me, but this doesn't feel right. You should be doing something else. Like, and I say impact, right? So I was working for corporate and, like, in the corporate world, and I was impacting leaders, right, as a coach. So I was helping leaders to be better leaders. Before that, I worked for a corporation like IBM and Compaq as an employee, but I also worked for an agency where they were my clients. So I was impacting them, helping them grow their business and their revenue. To me, that there's a role for that for somebody. But for me, I felt that there needed to be something more, I want to say personal, for lack of a better word, something that was more, like, somebody can say, like, my life has changed because of the work that you've helped me with, or you've taken me down, you know, a totally different path that I never knew was possible. And you don't really hear that in corporate. You don't hear that in corporate. You just hear the numbers.
Yeah, totally. We have an awesome comment here if you want to read that out loud for the audio.
Sure. I am learning how much astrology can really help me figure things out. That is so awesome. I also do tarot and pay attention to astrology. I've had a couple of charts done. It's phenomenal. Yes. Okay. So let me kind of give some credence to that too, because as I was going through these changes that I mentioned, when I left my corporate job, before that, when I started my network marketing business, when I left my corporate job, when I decided to get out of my marriage, I didn't know that it was tied to astrology. It really was. As I started to study astrology, what I was doing was looking back at these astrological cycles during these years of my life, and I tied them to events that were pushing me in a different direction. Wow. So it was sort of like a look backward to say, okay, in 2008, there was this, Pluto transit, and that's when I did this. And then in, 2012, when I left my corporate job, that was my, a start of a Jupiter cycle, a new cycle. So I was looking backward. Now I'm looking forward. I'm able to say, I've used in 2021 and 2022, I've used astrology to pretty much plan out my life, but things that I want to accomplish in my life.
So freaking cool. Wow. What would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
Everything has a purpose. We may not see it at the time, and it may not feel good, but ultimately it's really for our highest good. So I believe we are all meant to be here and live a fulfilled life. I really do. But we get in our own way.
Yeah.
And we let fear hold us back. And you've heard this, I'm sure, from many, many women, Sabrina, that you work with and on your show. It's like we're so used to who we are now that we're really afraid to become the and I'll just speak to the women in this audience, the women that we're really meant to become. We're in our role of mom and spouse and daughter and sister and friend and all that. And that's sort of what happened to me. I sort of had all these different, and then you add running a foundation and a corporate job and a side business and all that. It's like, okay, where am I? Who am I? Right. And then once you can come back to who you truly are, then you can really figure out what's important to you and then decide, make choices for yourself that are going to make you happy.
Fantastic. During all of this, the scenario with your sister, I'm assuming the divorce happened somewhere in there, the job change, there's a lot of ups and downs, twists and turns going on. I want to talk a little bit about limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
What are some, or one, however you want to do that, limiting beliefs that you have acknowledged and that you have either gotten rid of or you're working on getting rid of?
Okay. There were quite a few, and I actually had written them all down at one point, and I rewrote them. So I have a process where the limiting beliefs are disempowering, and then I rewrite them to more empowering beliefs. I'm going to say that I thought that, this is like really brutally honest, the only way I would be loved is if I made other people happy.
What does that mean?
What that means is that I have to please everybody else in order to be loved.
Is that despite your happiness?
Yes, it would put other people's happiness ahead of my own, and what other people needed ahead of my own needs.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to make these really tough choices and decisions in my life that, at one point didn't go over well with a lot of people.
That usually happens. Yeah.
And so, some of it is bound. There are boundaries. There's boundaries that we have to set with people that are closest to us. Our children, our spouses, our family, our clients, right? So, and here's the thing: they love you anyway. Yeah. They do. They love you anyway. It's just stuff in our heads, and their expectations of us that we've allowed to go on for so long.
Yeah. When did you come to the realization of the word boundaries? When did that come into your world?
It was in 2020. It was that infamous year that I did a lot of soul searching, and recognized that I allowed too much to interfere with my goals and my dreams. And they could be simple things like on a day-to-day basis, but like some big things, like really putting forth the time and effort that I needed to put into my business because I was sort of taking care of everybody else first.
Yes, 100%. That definitely gets in the way a lot when you're trying to make everybody else happy and you have no boundaries. It's really hard to succeed yourself.
Yeah. And I lived with 3 males, my husband and my boys. And so being the only female in the house was also kind of challenging. And I'm a Cancer, so I'm a Cancer sun. And that's like nurturing. That's who I am. Right. And so I we are who we are. And then, I realized, okay, I'm sacrificing some things that I need to be doing for myself for other people.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. What advice would you give to females who are struggling right now in the middle of a fork in the road?
They have the answer. They do. They know. They know. One thing I have learned for myself that I teach other people in coaching situations, even I just give it as free advice. Allow yourself to be quiet enough and you'll get the answer. So during that 2020 period, I really secluded myself in my room for a lot of hours. It sounds kind of like spooky, but I shut the TV off. I didn't want to watch TV. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I read a lot. I was in a women's group program, which is all dedicated to personal development and growth. And I spent time in the morning, like just being quiet. I won't say meditation. It was meditation, but it wasn't listening to something and it wasn't a guided meditation or it wasn't music. I would just be still. Be still. And I have that practice every morning. I still have that practice every morning. And so that's when I get my answers. So if I'm struggling with something, whether it's a big decision or something that may not be as significant, I rely on my spirituality and I ask my guides, help me with this, help me come up with the right answer. And it was, and I didn't realize it now. I'm only realizing it now that I'm bringing this up, but that was what happened in 2012 when I left my corporate job. I went to bed that night and I got the answer the next morning. And how I was going to do it, because I didn't know how I was going to do it. And the answer came that next morning. So you need to be still enough and quiet enough to let the answer come to you, because it's there and it will.
Wow. Yes. That's one of the things that I have started doing probably within the last maybe 7 to 8 years or so, is finding silence. And one of the places that I do it at that's easy for me is the car. So instead of flipping on the radio or Pandora or whatever, just have nothing, zero sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so much stuff flows, so much.
Absolutely. So two things. My morning ritual is I'll get up very early. I'll get my coffee. I'll feed my cats and I'll sit in bed just quiet with the coffee. So that's one way. The other is I don't live far from the beach. So I will take walks and I don't listen to music. I'll just walk. Yes. And being in nature, definitely being in nature is something that will allow you to connect with, I'll call it your higher self, because it is your higher self speaking to you when you're in that stillness and you're in that quiet.
Yes. What do you think is the reason why so many humans have a hard time sitting in silence? Why is that such a hard thing for people to do?
I think two things. One is we think we need to be busy all the time. And if we're not busy, we're doing something wrong. Like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that, right? Whether it's doing something around the house or doing something for work or doing something for your business. And then the other is, I think we put other people's needs first, quite frankly. I don't think we give ourselves enough time and space to be able to be in that stillness and be in that quiet. And I have a group coaching program going on now. And one of the women says, well, I leave for work at 4:30. Like I get up at 4:30 and I'm in the car and then I'm dealing with people all day. And then I'm too tired at night. And so I said, okay, where in the morning can you carve out 10, 15 minutes? Because at night you're too tired. I can't. I got to do it in the morning before anything hits me. So it's like, where in your day? And she said, in the car, or when she first gets into her office, before she does anything, before she logs onto email, she'll do 10 minutes of breathing exercises that I taught her and just being still.
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the car, for those that are having issues with it or find themselves needing a constant flow of noise, I think the car and the shower are like the easiest places because there's still stuff going on. So you're not like just sitting, just totally bored. If you're going to like step into it, I feel like those two places are like easy first steps.
Oh, the shower is amazing. So yeah, the shower. For the car, I prefer to have music and sing, quite honestly. That's my preference. I like to sing in the car with my music on. But in the shower, absolutely. You could you could be in there for 10 minutes with the water just like flowing on you. So
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
My fiance's like that with the car. He will be literally driving like down the street. And before we pull out, he has to find a song, this Pandora, and like put it on and turn it up and connect it. And it's literally like a 5-minute drive. And I'm sitting, because I don't listen to anything in the car. That is honestly my time where I drive in total silence. I'm just sitting in the passenger seat like, hurry the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? Let's just drive. But yeah, he loves to like have some tunes jamming while he's driving, even if it's a few minutes of a drive. So yeah, we're all different, but it's just finding what's good for you.
Do what works for you. And that's why what works for me doesn't work for somebody else. So, but the important thing is you find something that allows you to disconnect from everybody and really just connect with yourself.
100. Yeah. And I think that's why it's so important, why this podcasting is just so valuable, is because there's so many times when we're hearing something and what we're hearing just does not jive with what we appreciate in our life. So it's having a plethora of stories and journeys and ideas to be able to filter through us, and you take what you like and then you just leave the rest. And it really helps us to create tools and building blocks for ourselves and what works for us in our world by just pulling these little nuggets of information from individuals like yourself,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's how you got through your journey and continue to get through your journey. And same for me. I'm picking up things from others all the time.
That's the fun. So listen, I want to give a quick shout out because we have a ton of people watching live. So I just wanted to thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us, for all of the awesome comments. If you are watching live, if you could share this stream wherever you are so that we can get more eyes on the platform and on Barbara, we would so appreciate it. If you are watching on the replay right now, make sure you #replay so that we know where you're watching us at and we can send you some love. But I want to ask Barbara, you've given us a lot of goodies and we have an inkling of what you do, but I would love to just kind of dive into your business and where people can find you if they're really resonating with all the goodness you're sharing.
Sure. Thank you. So you have my website URL up there at the top. So if anybody wants to learn more about me and what I do, that's there. But after all of the coaching niches that I sort of tested over the years, I've really landed in working with women in midlife during helping them with their transformation. And it's interesting because that's where I wanted to be in the beginning. And for some reason, I sort of talked myself out of it. But that's really what I do. So I work with women, usually in their midlife, which starts around the 40s, and I help them through their transformational journey. I do individual coaching and I do group coaching. I have a program that I run for a group twice a year. And I also have a lot of different astrology offerings for people. I use astrology as a tool in my coaching. So the first thing I like to start people with, if they haven't had an in-depth chart reading, is to really understand who they are through a 90-minute natal chart consultation. And then we go from there. I am, if you don't mind me sort of shouting, and I am doing a masterclass next Wednesday night. It's a free masterclass. It's January 11th at 7:00 p.m. Can I read the URL, or how do you want me to give the URL? Because I think this is a great introduction to how you can work with astrology.
If you want to put it in the private chat, I can put it up on the screen.
So like you see it here?
Yeah, just put it in the private chat and then it'll come to me.
Okay.
And then I can pull it up on the screen for you. The 11th, that's a Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Yep, you see that?
All right, let me bring it up. I do see it.
Yeah, there you go. So if you go to that URL, you can register, and it's a free 90-minute. It's probably about an hour 15, and then I leave some time for Q&A.
Fantastic. I love that. And if you want to post that in the Her Nation Facebook group, I would also appreciate that. We do allow, for anyone that's listening live within the group who is a coach right now, we do allow at the moment posting from other coaches as long as it's free. So any sort of free workshop or free consultation or anything that you want to post that is 100% free, just value. So appreciate the gifts. So always feel free to drop that in there. Where do you hang out at? What social media?
I have an Instagram account, Soul Aligned Journey. Hang on a second. That's Instagram. Nice. I have a personal Facebook group. I'm okay with you could find me on Facebook, Barbara Alexander.
And what are your big dreams for your business?
That's a good question. My big dreams are, I really would love to, like you said before, when people are in dark places, know that there's a light. Know that there's a light. I mentioned one dark place I was in. I didn't get into a couple of other dark places, but I relied a lot on my own beliefs and communities of women like yours to help me see the light. So the more that we can connect women to other women and provide a community or a way to help them. So I'm like at the early stages with the Soul Aligned Journey. I'm just growing that a little bit now, and hoping to grow that and foster a community like you are as well.
I love it. And why do you do what you do? Why you kind of already answered that, but let's dive in deeper. Why do you do what you do?
I do it because, like I said, we have a purpose here. We do. And we're all meant to share our gifts. And sometimes we just don't know where they are, like what our gifts are or where to even start. And we have to shed a lot of what was kind of put on us in order to really identify that. So, and that's what gives me that just to know that I've helped somebody, just to help somebody with some sort of encouragement. I'm not even talking about my business. I'm just talking about conversations with people, just in general. If there's something that they can pick up from my journey, something they can pick up from your journey that you sometimes don't even realize what an impact you've made.
Yeah, totally. That's the cool thing about it, is when you get random direct messages or emails from people from, months or years ago, and they're like, hey, FYI.
So Sabrina, I had a gift sent to me for Christmas that I was shocked by somebody that I just gave some time to. And I got this beautiful gift, and it was just I just didn't expect it. And when you do things because you feel something is drawn, you're drawn to that person, and that person needs something.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, it meant, the gift was just, it was probably the best gift I've gotten in a really long time, because I knew why it was given to me.
Okay. Wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a great surprise for sure. Well, I so appreciate you being here, Barbara, and sharing all of this goodness that you shared today. Any closing thoughts as we start to wrap up here?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. No matter where you are right now, no matter how dark it might seem, just believe in yourself and go for it. Just go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Barbara, for your time.
Sabrina. I enjoyed the time with you, and look forward to connecting with you in the group.
Yes, 100. So for those of you watching live or on the replay, if you resonated with all the goodness that Barbara shared today, make sure you check out her website, which is right above her head area, if you want to screenshot. And then it's also in the description below, wherever you guys are watching this at. So we love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us here on Her Aversion. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, reach out to me at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others.